kind people who are helping. Thank you to all the first responders who put their lives in danger to help us when my brothers and sisters and mom and dad and grandpa and grandma need them.
Thank you, first responders.
This is what I signed up for as a first responder. I am constantly worried about being exposed to this virus and potentially bringing it back to my home and my family. I'm going to continue going to work day in and day out and providing help to those that need it.
We look out for the helpers because they look out for us.
Thank you, first responders. Thank you, first responders. Thank you, first responders.
Love you. Mwah.
Be safe, look after yourself, and look after one another. Thanks.
Learn how you can help first responders in your community by texting BRAVE to 24365.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
When I grow up, I want to be a psychologist or a therapist.
I want to be a pediatrician.
I was hoping to become a chef someday.
I want to own a big house with the convertible and the jacuzzi and the pool, all the good stuff.
Role models, they don't tell you what to do, but they help you to go where you're going.
I want to study law. I don't want to become a lawyer. I want to become a CIA agent.
Young people, I think, do need a mentor because, we don't know everything. And, all the people, they've experienced stuff that we haven't.
I would like to be a baseball player.
As long as there's somebody behind you, pushing you and supporting you, then you feel that you always have the strength to keep going.
Well, I would like to become like a doctor. That's my first choice.
Sometimes you feel down and you feel that no one really understands and no one knows where you're coming from. And it's great to see someone who's been where you are now and, making it.
Each of our children has hopes and dreams for their future. Help them get there. Become a mentor.
Atlanta Braves play here. WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana. Powered by Pepsi. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Pushed away and intercepted. Ball game.
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room.
The fairy tale continues.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
And the breakthrough for the U.S.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome into the Rib Crib Radio Room. It's Thursday, April 7th, and what does that mean, baby? Baseball is back. You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, now in Mariana, Chipley, and Bonifay on 102.1. Let's go. If you get out there past Alford, now all you got to do is switch it over to 102.1 in the Mariana area, and we'll be right there with you. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Kyle Wright today. What more of a fitting day for us to come together and talk? It's going to be a load of baseball. We've got the Masters going on. We've got just so many. We're on the precipice of NHL, NBA playoffs. The Lakers are out of the playoffs, but the Braves and the Reds open up the season, and we're doing a show together. Can it get any better than that, brother?
I can't imagine it getting any better than that. By the way, Mariana 102.1, absolutely crystal clear. Crystal clear up there, because obviously that's where I just bought my new house.
Yeah.
Going up.
So you can attest to it for us.
Yeah, I can do it. It's crystal clear. It sounds great. Was actually shocked because sometimes when you get the new station, it
takes a little while, yeah.
Trials and tribulations, and it sounded really good. So kudos to you guys for that. Here we are, Thursday, April 7th, Atlanta, Georgia tonight. Cincinnati Reds, Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are going on the title hunt. Right?
Oh man,
they're defending the championship against first night Cincinnati Reds coming into town. talk about a story of two teams going into the playoffs, coming out of the offseason. It really doesn't get any better than this. It really doesn't. And it's crazy that we are literally scheduled to do this show on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And it fell on today.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that the Reds have opened the season away from home since 1990. Because of the lockout.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's because of the
it
lockout.
is because of the lockout. So you guys were originally slated to play at the house. I think we were supposed to open up on the road against the Marlins as the defending World Series champions. How often does that happen?
It's weird. It's weird, right?
No love for Atlanta.
No love for Atlanta at all. And the protest had to get them on TV in the first place.
Yeah.
And they're on ESPN2.
I mean, you already took away the All-Star game from us last year.
Right.
The least you could do is show us a little love. And they didn't even do that. They're like, oh, we forgot to add the Atlanta Braves to the ESPN broadcast for opening night. We'll add them, but we'll throw them on little old ESPN too.
Yeah.
But the better way is to listen to them right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida tonight at 5:50.
Don't give Disney your money.
No.
I'm just kidding.
We're not going there.
No, but
man.
super excited, man. Super excited. I can't believe we're at this point. Awesome.
I didn't think we were going to be here with the lockout. After talking to Jay Chapman, it was like there was too many obstacles and the players were too – man, I've been listening to a lot more player podcasts, not just baseball, but sports in general. And you really start to – when they start talking about the business, you're almost like – wow, Mike Allstott on Bussin' with the Boys with Taylor Wan and Will Compton. And he was like, he was calling the guys out to their face, essentially. And Taylor was, Taylor's not a guy that you necessarily want to play with, big offensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans. Mike Allstott was, you guys are soft. And Taylor's like, well, dude, it was like players, understand that players need to stick together or whatever. And it was kind of y'all's generation that got us to this position.
Right.
So we're thankful for y'all, but it benefits us in the long run.
It's crazy. It's crazy how far we've come.
Yeah, it really is, man.
Or how far back we've come, depending on
which way you want to look at it.
If you look at it from a Kyle Wright, David Hayes standpoint, or an old school Kyle Werner standpoint, it's up to you.
I miss my man, old school. Thanks for that.
One thing that I wanted to mention that flies a little bit under the radar. I know I mentioned that the Reds are opening the season on the road for the first time since 1990. Weird little fact. What happened in 1990? The Reds won the World Series.
So there you go.
Not gonna happen.
Hey, I mean, it's kind of like that situation. What was the stat with whenever Florida beats Georgia, or was it vice versa? Georgia beats Florida, the Braves win the World Series. I mean, it's all those small coincidences, but we got to hang tight to those as fans.
And the lockouts with the Braves winning the World Series.
That's another good point. It just continues on. And then you have another good point. We're going to have Sam Peebles on the line with us here in the next segment. We're going to hold him on for 2 segments, Lord willing. But one of the points that you brought up is kind of the differences in the Braves and the Reds franchises, and I find it to be very interesting. We've got a couple of things to talk about here in this opening segment. I imagine that the day will be dominated by baseball since it's opening day. But what is the differences in these franchises, especially the off seasons that they had?
You see two teams that 2020, the bubble season, right, the shortened 60-game season, came face-to-face in the playoffs. You would argue, though, that the Reds were kind of hot going in, but the Braves just came in and shut them down, and the Braves fell a little bit short of the expectations that year. The next season, they had choices to make. The Braves kind of kept the same team that they had because, there was every reason to. There was every reason to. They were the number 2 seed that year. They had every reason to go into the season. The Reds ignored the big needs, and they went in. Okay, so 2021 goes through. Reds missed the playoffs barely missed the playoffs. They're over 500 for 2 years in a row for the first time.
Which expectations before the season
were not there. But the Reds go over 500 for the second season in a row for the first time since like the early 2010s. And the Braves win the World Series. Well, this offseason, you could just tell the difference in ownership and the difference in management because the Atlanta Braves lose their number 1 guy. Like, there's no argument. He was the top jersey guy. Freddie Freeman sold more jerseys than Ronald Acuna.
Yeah.
He was the number 1 jersey seller for a reason. He's a former MVP.
Yeah.
And
the leader of the clubhouse and been there through the ups and the downs, more so the downs.
Exactly. So they lose their number 1 guy, and they don't let that falter. They don't let that throw them aside. They go and they get somebody who is pretty much a younger version of Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson, and they also go out and get other things. Like they know that the bullpen's a little staggered, right? So what do? Let's go get Kenley Jansen.
Yeah. Let's go get Colin McHugh.
Let's go get Colin McHugh.
Kirby Yates is someone that they added, and he's someone that might not even touch the mound until close to the end of the summer. You know what I mean? So they're really kind of banking on that. But yeah, the additions that they've made to the bullpen, and you get a guy like Soroka back, and now all of a sudden that starting five is looking extremely strong with it being anchored down by it. Who's it going to be, right? Who could the ace be out of Max Fried and out of Charlie Morton?
I would say it's got to be Max Fried, right?
Right.
I mean,
you want it to be, but then you got the vet there. It's like saying that Lance McCullers, is he even with the Astros right now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Lance McCullers was more. Let's go to last year. Lance McCullers, provided that you had a healthy JV, who's the ace? Well, like in the players' eyes, it'll probably be McCullers. You know what I mean? But in the eyes of the fans, I'm like JV all day, bro. It can't be anybody other than Verlander.
Absolutely. I think by the end of the year for the Braves, though, it'll be Ian Anderson. I mean, it's a dude that stepped up late last year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was good before that, but I mean, there was just really nobody better than him when playoff time rolled around, in the starting rotation at least.
Yeah.
And of course, Max Fried was just dominant. The whole Braves staff was dominant.
Yeah. Talk about the right time for that to happen, because the whole year leading up to it, every time that we would have Sam Peebles on, it would be like, dude, how? All right, first off, we're not even over 500, right? Second off, what's going on with A.J. Minter? Then playoffs hit, and all of a sudden, A.J. Minter's lights out.
Yep.
Tyler Matzik is you could flip some of those letters around and come up with a new.
Tyler Matzik has been running his mouth all off season. You better come out and back that up, dude.
Oh man, one thing that I am a little worried about, Kyle, is and I know that it's not the players doing it, and it's not necessarily the gold threads, but there's just gold revolving around everything, and it's been since 1995 that the Braves won the World Series. So I get, taking every opportunity and making the most of it for to show off that you're a champion. But if that gets into the players' minds, you don't get too high on that high horse.
Don't get content. But that
don't get conceited.
Yeah, or conceited. That's where you're going to win when you bring in a guy like Matt Olson. When you bring in guys like Kenley Jansen, who are still hungry, who really still want to. When you got a superstar coming to a team full of stars that are hungry, that have already been there, that are going to be able to provide that leadership, and now you get a hungry young star that wants to get there himself. I mean, I can't imagine the Braves winning the division by less than 5 games this year.
And another thing on top of that, and I'm curious to get your take on this, is Matt Olson, Colin McHugh, Kenley Jansen, all guys who grew up loving the Atlanta Braves. Do you think that it just means a little bit more when you're a professional athlete and you get to play for the team who you grew up idolizing?
Absolutely. I mean, that's every kid's dream.
Right.
That's everybody's dream, no matter what. It's kind of the same argument that we have with, hate to bring it up because I would do it all the time, but with wrestling, right? Because WWE's the dream. So like, while you might go through all these other little things, the end-all be-all is that. So your dream is to always be an Atlanta Brave. I mean,
speaking of that, that's great. Let's segue into nightmares then. Because Dusty was the American dream.
Yep. Yeah.
Cody, the American nightmare, right?
Yep.
All right. So, and guys, I don't know a tenth of the percentage of what Kyle does with wrestling, but I didn't get to read off your statement that you had prepared for me for WrestleMania, but we've only got about 5 minutes here. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on WrestleMania, because we realized last week that we have a bigger following of WrestleMania than maybe what I suspected.
So, honestly, if you want to get somebody into wrestling, WrestleMania Day 1 would be the day I would go show them.
Yeah.
You could watch that pay-per-view from start to finish, and it was just super enjoyable. But you can also take a fan from 20 years ago, plug them in, and they would have enjoyed it as well, because Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled on WrestleMania Night 1, and it was incredible, man. I mean, the whole thing was awesome. The emotion was there. Cody Rhodes went out, started AEW, a rival promotion, and then returned to WWE on WrestleMania Night 1.
Do you like how all of that transpired?
Yes, I loved it. I mean, we were up screaming. I actually ripped my toenail off my little toe and didn't realize it because I kicked the couch when it happened. And it's crazy because later on we're sitting there and I'm like, Tyler, turn the light on. The floor's kind of I thought I spilled a drink or something because the floor was sticky and there's blood pouring everywhere under my foot. I'm like, dude, I kicked the couch when I got up, like excited.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, man. Nothing really brings emotion out of me like wrestling does.
Yeah.
So,
and I realized something. To here
we go.
Keep talking about WrestleMania.
Go ahead. We got a phone call coming in, so Dave's gonna jump over there. But man, WrestleMania it was incredible, guys. I would suggest if you don't have Peacock, go get Peacock and find a way to watch WrestleMania Night 1, no matter what you do, just because it was awesome. It really was. Cody Rhodes comes back to WWE after 6 years being away and puts on the best match of the evening. The ladies performed. Ronda Rousey did great. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that's stuff. That was some great stuff, and also a lot of heart string pulling moments there. We got Don on the line. Wants to talk some baseball. What you got, buddy?
I'd just like to say that Nick Nelson has been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies as a relief pitcher.
Is this breaking news that you're providing us with?
No, actually, he got traded after the baseball season was over with last year.
I did not even, man, and that's one of our hometown heroes right now. So
yes, it is.
That is that's good stuff because, in my opinion, it's great to play for a storied franchise like the New York Yankees, but you can't take anything away from the stories that the Phillies have. But it also gives Braves fans and Northwest Florida natives a chance to go see him more often than when he was playing with New York.
Yes. He's a real good pitcher. I've followed him all the way through high school and college over there at Gulf Coast.
I know that the Braves faithful are not going to like this, but, I mean, the more the Phillies start to add pitchers, and if they make a big trade for like a John Means or something before the deadline, the Phillies could be a threat to the Braves.
Well, you think about it, man. Some of the outings that Nick had last year was, this kid is going to not can do it. He's going to do it at the next level. We've really got some studs in the league right now. When you think about Nick, when you think about Roman Quinn, and when you think about J.J. Bleday playing over there in Pensacola.
Yep.
Hey, Don, thanks. You got anything else for us, Don?
That's it for right now.
Hey, man, we appreciate you listening, and we appreciate you bringing us up to date.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So Nick Nelson with the Philadelphia Phillies. I know Caveman Rick is going to be happy about that. And the Philadelphia Philly fans have to be glad about that, especially if you're a Phillies fan in this area. You know, there's just something about, like we were just talking about, the Atlanta Braves and having kids come play for their hometown or playing for the teams that they idolized growing up or their favorite teams growing up. Well, when you're a fan of a team and then someone from your hometown is on that team, like there's a young man that pitches for the Kansas City Royals as well. I don't think he's from this part of Florida, but he's from Florida, Brady Singer. And we have Callaway Steve always call in and give us the Brady Singer update and stuff. I love those. And I just love the community. Man, we've got so many athletes. Michaela Hall with Edgewater Gymnastics. I know it's not baseball, but the #1 gymnast in not just the state of Florida, but in the nation, man. We got to run to a break. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, also 102.1 in Marianna. We're going to have the Braves coverage starts against the Reds tonight, 5:50, right after the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes with Kyle Wright. We'll be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, light breezes from the northwest, 52 to 58 for the low. A sunny, windy day for Friday, near 70, and a west wind will gust to 30 miles per hour. Mostly clear Friday night, around 50, rather breezy. Sunday this weekend, upper 60s and low 70s, Saturday and Sunday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Offord Tire and Service Center in Callaway. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
There's some fierce conversations, and I'm just giving you an opinion here based on what I hear, but there's a dividing line in the SEC right now between the have and the have-nots. There's no certainty we're going to get a resolution on this anytime soon. Of course, we don't have to, but at some point this has to be resolved, and there are certain schools, and you can guess which ones, who are going to come out on the short end.
Weekday evening 6 to 10, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
Are you ready for the best pizza in Bay County? It's Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, with over 100 years of recipes passed down through 4 generations. Paparazzi Gourmet specializes in New York and authentic Italian-American specialties from the deli, prepared foods, and of course, pizza. They even cater for all occasions. Click paparazzigourmetdeli.com to check out their daily specials. Come taste the difference at Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, Thomas Drive next to Goodwill on Panama City Beach. Call 850-588-8244 for fast pickup and DoorDash.
Live from the Rib Crib studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is going to be presenting Wrestling Against Cancer 7. This is going to be Saturday, April 30th at the Bay County Fairgrounds. The main event is going to be Chief Little Bear, who was wrestling when I was a kid. My dad would take me to the local wrestling promotions, especially the ones out there on the beach. Chief Little Bear would be wrestling, and he's going to be taking on Cali Man in the main event. Doors open 5:30, bell time 6:30. All proceeds for this, guys, this is why we want to pack it out. All proceeds benefit Mosley High School senior student Kendall Susie. Let's get over to Sam Peebles now, who is the creator and host of the Braves Dugout podcast, also with the Morning Shift Media. Oh, man, you've got so many things going on. The intro would last longer than a segment. What's going on, bro?
Nothing much. Yeah, I'm a busy guy, but I'm loving it.
Dude, how do you keep up with it all? What takes the most time? Is it creating the podcast, or is it when you're writing content?
I would say what takes the most time is just the pure research that comes along with it. But I enjoy doing the research, so it's just a byproduct of doing the research, and then you put it out there. But I would say probably the podcast, because you have to do the research, then you have to record, then you have to edit. So
yeah, very true
there's
there.
3 phases. Yeah.
So first question I want to get into. We had your buddy Trent on, and we were talking a little Braves with him yesterday. That was some good stuff. But I want to talk about night shift. Talk about the additions that we'll have in the bullpen this year, and do you think that they can continue their dominance this year? And what role, with Kenley Jansen being added now, what role will Kirby Yates play when he comes off of the IL?
Man, it's a great position to be in, knowing that in August you're going to add one of the best relievers in the league in August, and you've already got some of the best relievers on your team. But I'm hoping, this Snicker has never had a bullpen like this, so there's really no telling how he's going to manage it. And we've seen that he can be a little erratic when it comes to bullpen management. That was probably his biggest flaw last year in the regular season. So I can't say for certainty, but if it were up to me, I would not have a designated, this is your closer. I mean, you've got 3 guys that are proven in the late innings, well, more than 3 guys, 4 or 5 guys that have experience in the late innings, and they've been good recently. So what I would be doing is I would be playing the matchups, because guys like Kenley Jansen, he has a history of being fantastic, but his walk to strikeout ratio is one of the lowest it's ever been, meaning like for every walk that he gives up, how many strikeouts he gets, he gets about 2.2 strikeouts for every walk, when in the past he was getting about 5 strikeouts to every walk. So he's not as dominant as he used to be, so they need to be using him in a position that he's going to have the potential to do the best, and they should be doing the same thing with Will Smith as well. And then when Kirby Yates comes in the mix, they can do the same thing as well. So really it's going to be a nightmare for any batter out there, because it's not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to have a good matchup against this pitcher. No, you're not, because they can play the best matchup against you.
Oh, did you lower my mic?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, Sam. This is Kyle Wright. This is the first time we've ever interacted, not through keyboard arguments here. So,
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on Ronald Acuna being a total punk and walking back his comments from his Instagram Live last night.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because, you haven't seen the whole story. I don't speak Spanish, so I can only, go off of what other people are saying. It's really easy to take things out of context, and I don't know enough context to be able to tell. So, in my opinion, it's kind of like the guy's a young guy. He probably said something he regretted, and he's trying to save face. Not really sure why, because Ronald Acuna is the type of guy that really doesn't apologize for anything. So that kind of makes me wonder, did what he said actually get taken out of context? Because he doesn't really seem like the type of guy that really cares what other people think.
Well, and that kind of goes to the ESPN side of the article, because the Bleacher Report is the side that's putting out that basically
he walked it back.
That he walked it back, and then you had another Bleacher Report reporter come out and say, no, I can confirm what he said. But in the ESPN article, he was talking about when he was coming up out of AA, AAA, I forget which one it was, and they brought him into the office one day because he had on big eye black, and they're like, Freddie wiped it off of his face, or one of the players wiped it off of his face, and he was like, you know what, I get it. I'm not going to do anything because I'm a rookie, but one day I'll be a veteran, and no one's going to do that. You know what I mean? So I felt like where he was coming from is essentially, Freddie, which as a leader of a clubhouse, you're not necessarily supposed to be liked per se as much as respected. Would you agree with that, Sam?
Yes, I would agree with that. And I do think that there's been like a ginormous shift in the way baseball used to be played stylistically to where it is today, and it's happened very recently. So Freddie Freeman's been in the league for 12, 13 years. So the way he was brought up and the way that you're supposed to act, it's just human nature to expect other people to act the same way that you were taught to act.
Yeah.
And the way that baseball players acted 12 years ago is drastically different than what it is right now.
And
we're getting more into. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've seen in the past few years they've gotten more loose with letting players have like the Players Weekend where they get to show off what they like to wear, and players aren't getting in trouble for showboating anymore. And it's just the way that the game has shifted. We've seen that with especially people like Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna. And it has gained viewers. There's a lot more young fans now than there were when I was younger. And I think a lot of it that is attributed to that the game is fun to watch again, as far as, it may not be aesthetically pleasing as far as, shifts being in play and things like that, but watching how players react and being able to celebrate and stuff has brought hype to the game that it hasn't had in years.
And that's what the league not only wants, but is needing right now, is younger eyeballs on the game. So I think that's a great way. You make it more exciting. You're then more appealing to the younger fan base. One thing that I would like to see, I was listening to Dan Patrick today talking with Mike Piazza about sign stealing, the new electronic equipment that they're using for the catchers and the pitchers. And Mike was like, he's content with it, but players just don't police the game in the same way. But that is something that I would like to see brought back into the game. You give these players more freedom, yes, but you're also like, we don't need the league protecting them. If someone does something that the other team doesn't like I don't think that you should get an automatic ejection just because you were known to throw at someone. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously you don't want to take anyone's head off, but when you're allowed to police the game in that way, I think that, players taking control is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that if the league takes too much control over things like that, they will end up losing some fans in that situation, because no one wants to watch a game where players are just robots. You want players to have freedom, and of course you want to keep players safe. You don't want players to get injured. Look, Tatis Jr. is one of the most exciting players we've seen in years, and he missed most of the season last year, and that was terrible for baseball. So we don't want to see him get hurt and things like that. But at the same time, you don't want rules just to have rules. And, like the sign stealing scandal, yeah, it tainted baseball, but at the same time, it showed a human aspect of it that's going to be talked about for the rest of eternity. Like, we're not watching a video game here. We're not watching a movie. We're watching real-life people reacting in real-life situations. Part of live sports is reality TV that we like watching. And when you take away the reality part of it, it's losing some of its splendor. I mean, that's just an opinion, but that's the way I feel about it.
So, Sam, I want to ask you one more Atlanta
Real
Braves.
quick. We're talking with Sam. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Talking with Sam Peebles, who is the host and creator of the Braves Dugout podcast.
I want to ask you one more Braves question, because in the next segment, we want to focus more on the rest of baseball. Kind of get away, and not really get away from the Braves, because obviously we are the home of the Atlanta Braves here.
Right.
But I just want to, let's talk the rest of the league here and give like a full preseason preview. But talking about the Braves, Freddie Freeman's gone. Who do you think is going to be the unsung leader in the locker room this year?
I would imagine that it's going to be either Ozzie Albies or Dansby Swanson, maybe Travis d'Arnaud. Dansby Swanson and Ozzie Albies have been on the team longer, but d'Arnaud just seems to have that persona to where he's a league veteran, and players seem to respect him. It's hard to say because I'm not in the clubhouse with them, so you never really will truly know. But this is just me guessing based on the comments and then the way that the reporters specifically talk to certain players in certain situations. You can kind of get the vibe that it's going to be Swanson, Albies, or d'Arnaud.
So, Sam, in the last couple of years, we were talking to Trent about this yesterday, but in the last couple of years, especially last year, the Braves just have not gotten off to a hot start. What could be the difference this year for the Braves to start hot?
I would say that hopefully the young pitchers in the rotation have more experience, and they've knocked off the nerves, and they've figured out how to get the rust gone really quick, because that's been an issue. Early on in the season, the starting rotation has not lived up to its potential. But once you get to about mid-season, when they're in it and they're going for it, that's when we started seeing more wins. Obviously, we saw wins after the trade deadline when we filled some holes, but you really started to see a change and shift in dynamics once the starting rotation started performing. And so I think it's really going to hinge on the starting rotation to really have a good, solid start.
Fair enough. So I want to ask you one more thing before we move on to the next segment, because I kind of feel like the Atlanta Braves going in are very strong. They're going to get Ronald Acuna back in May, right? Are we thinking mid-May for him?
Yeah, early mid-May is the plan.
Early mid-May. So we're going to get Ronald Acuna back. But before then, do you feel like if they get one injury that things could start to, like a major injury, I'm talking like a Matt Olson, an Ozzie Albies, a Marcell Ozuna, do you think that things could start to slip away a little bit with the rest of the division getting just a little bit better, like Philly and the Mets?
Yes, I do think that. Well, I'll say this: in the infield, yes. In the outfield, no. The infield's pretty thin, but the outfield's pretty stacked. They've even taken Contreras and had him play in right field some just to get even more full. But I mean, you've got Alex Dickerson, who in 2021 had a terrible year, but in 2019, 2020 was one of the best offensive outfielders in the league. Like, he was 59% better than league average as far as offense goes in 2020, and he's your fifth best outfielder. So as far as overall output goes, you've got Heredia out there that can cover defense. If it's outfield, the Braves will be fine, especially since they can rotate people in the DH slot. If it's the infield, the Braves might be hurting a little bit. They don't really have a ton of depth. If Orlando Arcia is your backup guy, if Matt Olson gets hurt, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to have to, I think the plan is to put Adam Duvall at first, which, if that were to happen, and that is a terrible idea considering he's your best defensive outfielder that's a starter. Yeah. So, yeah, if there's an infield injury, it could get bad pretty quick.
Oof. Those are words we don't want to hear. But, Sam, you always keep it real with us. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll have the creator of the Braves Dugout podcast, Sam Peebles, back with us here in the next segment. Thanks so much, Sam. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Kyle Wright. We're going to take a quick time out. We're going to be right back with Sam Peebles, y'all.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mike Greenberg, Greeny,
Bruce Arians is a great guy. Bruce Arians' legacy is all that he did for diversity and inclusion, a major issue in the National Football League. And this is a guy who walked the walk and as well as talked the talk about giving minority coaches opportunities, about giving female coaches opportunities, about doing any number of other things that in the big picture are more important than being a great football coach. But he's not been a great head coach.
Weekday afternoons from 2 till 4, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's up, everybody? David Pollock here with Barbaritos. Did you know that Barbaritos has 35 farm fresh ingredients? That means you have over 3,000 entree combinations that you can put on your plate. Luckily, Barbaritos put together their 9 under 500 calorie menu, which features 9 different entrees that you can feel great about eating. Try the ground turkey salad with double protein, the mini chicken burrito, or my personal favorite Friday meal, fish tacos with guacamole. It's a winning play with Barbaritos.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon, specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialist is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
I'm Matt Glover with Aero Pest Service, and we are your family-owned and operated pest control company in Bay County since 1977. We can help you have a lawn that you can enjoy with your family. We can get rid of all the insects that destroy your parties. We can get rid of the weeds that give you anxiety, and we can fertilize your lawn and make sure that it's completely green and healthy, just the way you like it. Give us a call today at Aero Pest Service, 850-874-1900.
The #1 SEC call-in show is now twice as big. It's double the Paul Feinbaum Show. Weeknights starting at 6.
Okay, but also go faster.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Live from the Rib Crib Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Also now in Marianna, in Chipley and Bonifay on 102.1 here in Northwest Florida. Man, absolutely gotta love it. I gotta throw my phone away right there. Golly. All right, so we've got Sam Peebles on the line with us, host and creator of the Braves Dugout Podcast, one of the most informative Braves podcasts out there, educational as well. Sam, what's your latest and greatest episode that you just dropped, I believe, today, right?
Yep. I did my projections of what I think is going to be the Braves win-loss record, their Cy Young MVP, stuff like that. And I also broke down the offseason as far as, how the offseason pickups and what I liked and what I didn't like. There wasn't a lot that I didn't like.
Without giving too much away from your podcast, what is your win-loss record looking like for the Braves this year?
All right. I'm not typically one to toot my own horn, okay, but I'm really excited about this.
Toot, toot.
So, and David can tell you this, in 2020, I projected 45 wins, and the Braves had 45 wins. And last year I projected 89 wins, and the Braves had 88, but they only played 161 games.
Yeah.
So this year I'm projecting that they're going to have 92 wins.
92?
Because, yep, the whole idea that if you have the most wins in Major League Baseball, you're the best team is a completely flawed concept. People talk about strength of schedule all the time in college football, but they never talk about it in Major League Baseball, which is bizarre to me. But if you look at the Braves' schedule and their division, just like last year, the National League East is going to eat itself alive. They are top-heavy with the top 3, but even the Marlins has one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball. So when teams do play the Marlins, they're still going to have to score quite a bit of runs to win because that rotation is going to keep them down. So even if the Braves only had 92 wins, that does not mean that they're not as good as a team like the Dodgers, who's probably going to have close to 100. But, yes, my projection is I think they're going to have 92 wins this year.
Sam, I'm sitting at 91 and 71, so just one game underneath you, man.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So, yeah, go ahead and start it off. We want to talk a little bit more about the rest of Major League Baseball here and maybe talk more along the lines of underrated and overrated teams. And we've got an underrated team that we want you to discuss with us and let us know about them.
Yeah, assuming as a guy that runs a baseball podcast, because I'm doing one myself now, so I'm going to have to try to get better at this, but you also have to pay attention to other teams in the league. So the Seattle Mariners are a team that I want to bring up because they're a team that was very hot at the end of last year. They bring in Adam Frazier now. They bring in Jesse Winker. Is this a team that you could see winning the AL West or having a shot at the AL West or more?
There's a lot of people that are saying that. Fangraphs only has them projected at 80 wins, and I think that's due to their unproven rotation. Their offense looks fantastic. They're projected to score 4.5 runs a game. And that's quite a bit. I mean, actually, I think they're going to score more than that. I think it'd probably be more like 4.7 runs a game or something like that. I do think that they're going to surprise people. I do think that they have a legitimate shot of making the playoffs, especially since it's expanded to 12 teams. So I think they're going to win the West. Probably not. I don't think they're quite there yet. I do think that they are the second best team in the West. I know the Astros lost Correa, but they're getting Verlander back. A lot of their rotation is young. They've still got most of their team back. I can't bet against the Astros winning their division quite yet.
That's where I was going to kind of pivot to because it seems like everyone's darling, especially on this show. I think I was the only one on out of the panel of people that I asked that took the Mariners. Everybody else was taking the LA Angels. So do you see the Angels, baseball's darling, maybe giving the Astros a run for their money or possibly ending up in a wild card position?
Absolutely not. There's not a chance. I mean,
love it.
They've got the two best players in Major League Baseball, but that's it. It's a 26-man roster, 28 at the beginning of this year, and every single one of those count for the entire, especially a long season. Mike Trout is going to go down as the best player in our lifetime. Ohtani might even be the best or second best if he continues at this rate. But them and Rodon playing third base, that's about it. Their rotation is not good. It's been terrible for years. Their bullpen is terrible. They've got one good pitcher in their bullpen. You can score. It's not about who can score the most runs. It's about who can score more runs than their opponent the most amount of times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to happen a lot for the Angels. It's just not.
So that kind of leads me to an interesting question. Like what you just said, the Angels have the top two players in baseball. In what other sport is that even a reality that you can have the top two players in the sport on your team and still not make the playoffs? Is that a testament to how tough the grind of a 162-game season is?
Yeah, I think so too. Because even in football, you could argue in football, like for example, Matt Ryan has been a top quarterback for years, but the Falcons are terrible. I mean, he's not even on the Falcons anymore, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so that's possible, but then again, like they only play 17 games, whereas in Major League Baseball, you lose Mike Trout for half a season, and he's your best player. I mean, you are done. There's not a chance that you're going to make up for that. If your entire roster is built off of three people, and you lose one of them to this injury, which happens a lot in the grind of baseball. I always wondered growing up why people in baseball got injured so much because it's not really a contact sport. As I get older, I'm definitely seeing why. Having to try to stay in shape and stuff, you get injured really easily as you get older, and it's a grind. And yeah, I agree with that assessment. The long 162-game schedule, you've got to spread out that roster. You'd be much better having above-average players across the board than elite players in just a few positions and the rest of your roster being bad.
So I want to do something that I usually don't do, and I want to be selfish, and I want to ask you what you think about the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Red fans because they they looked like they were going to be really good a few years ago, back when they had Bauer and that rotation was so solid. And, I mean, the Braves barely got past them. But I do think that if I'm being honest with you, being straight up, I think they're headed towards a rebuild. So I wouldn't get my hopes up because they're probably going to be selling at the deadline.
I think they've already sold enough. I don't think there ain't really nothing left to sell.
NL Central. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're probably going to hope that guys like Luis Castillo get healthy so that you have trade chips,
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, maybe Votto send him to Toronto, let him win a World Series.
Well, he's got a full no-trade clause. I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, man. Sucks for Votto. Have to finish his career with Cincinnati.
Don't sign them contracts, kids.
so kind of taking another look there at the NL Central and would you consider the I don't want to say worst division, easiest path to the World Series or to the playoffs, the AL Central or the NL Central?
I think they're both the easiest.
But
overall, probably the AL Central, just because there's really no question marks. It's the White Sox and everybody else. Whereas the National League Central, the Brewers are the favorites, but they can't hit. They cannot hit the ball. So the Cardinals have a bunch of wild cards that could potentially be really good. So it's really the Brewers and the Cardinals in that division. I would say probably the AL Central, the White Sox have the clearest path to almost guaranteeing that they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay. So I'm just so perplexed. But could the Cubs be an underrated team that maybe not wins the division, but maybe find themselves because of the NL East possibly cannibalizing itself and the NL West? I mean, the Giants don't look to be the same team that they were last year. Rockies, I mean, yeah, the addition of Chris Bryant, but now the lack of Trevor Story. Could the Cubs maybe put something together now with Stroman, Smiley? I know it's not Stroman, Smiley, and Miley, but is there a chance for the Cubs?
Well, Fangraphs has them projected at 71 wins. I do think they're going to win more than that. They have some really underrated players. Like Nick Madrigal, the best contact hitter in the sport. Like, he does not miss the ball when he swings. And there's just names like that people just haven't heard of because they haven't been in the big spotlight because they're injured or they took forever to get up there. They've been on other small market teams. I think the Cubs are going to be better than people think they're going to be. I would say that they easily could come in third place in the National League Central. And if the National League Central is super easy, that means you have a probability of getting more wins within the division. So they could be that 12th spot. I mean, it's up in the air. I mean, it's definitely possible.
I love it, man. One more question before we let you go. We're up against a break here. I know you love picking apart how Snit puts the lineup together. What are your thoughts on the lineup tonight?
I was really ecstatic or happy to see that he's finally understanding that Ozzie Albies should not be hitting up front against right-handed pitching. He started doing it in the World Series last year, and it made a world of difference. No pun intended. But he's putting Ozzie in the 5 spot, I believe, tonight, 5 or 6 spot, and that's huge. He does not need to be batting first or second. His on-base percentage, his batting average, his slugging percentage, all of it is like a number 7 or 8 hitter against right-handed pitching. Against left-handed pitching, he's one of the best. He's up there with Ronald Acuna.
Wow.
But against right-handed pitching, he's so bad that it evens out to where it's at now. But if it were me, I'd even put Ozzie Albies even lower, maybe at like 7. But he's testing stuff out because Ronald Acuna's not there. They're trying Eddie Rosario up front, who hits right-handed pitching really well, which the Braves lineup lacks in. They crush lefties still. They're not very good against right-handed pitching, but Eddie Rosario is good at right-handed pitching against right-handed pitching. So it's smart that they moved Eddie Rosario up front, moved Ozzie Albies back some. I think it's headed in the right direction. Love
it, man, and I love your tweet today. How crazy are Braves fans going to go if Matt Olson goes yard in his first AB? You got like 600-plus likes last time I looked. That was a couple hours ago.
Yeah, imagine what happens if he actually hits it.
Oh, that thing's going to go yay-yow. All right, hey, Sam, thanks so much, man. You have a great evening and enjoy the Braves game tonight.
Absolutely. Go Braves. Thanks for having me.
Go Braves. You can listen to the Braves Dugout podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also listen to the Braves Tonight right here at 550, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, 102.1 in the Mariana area. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back with Defend Your Stance.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, light breezes from the northwest, 52 to 58 for the low. A sunny, windy day for Friday, near 70, and a west wind will gust to 30 miles per hour. Mostly clear Friday night, around 50, rather breezy. Sunday this weekend, upper 60s and low 70s, Saturday and Sunday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
The Braves are back, and they're on a mission to defend the East, defend the National League pennant, and defend their world title.
Line drive, that is through. It gets through. Here comes Dansby, and the Braves walk it off. This is unbelievable.
Tonight, it's opening day in Atlanta as Matt Olson and the 2022 Atlanta Braves open their season against the Cincinnati Reds.
Coverage starts this afternoon at 5:50 on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey there, I'm Swampy Jack. I've traveled the world for decades, and now I've brought some of my most exciting adventures to Panama City Beach. Brave perilous heights of the Kraken Tower swing as you soar above the beach. The whole family will have fun playing my new mini golf course, which recreates my expedition to the ruins of Angkor Wat. Skip the restaurant lines and enjoy a meal at Swampy's Cantina, and enjoy a beer while you listen to laughter bubbling from the spin coaster. Your adventure awaits at Swampy Jack's Wongo Adventure.
At Slim Chickens, craft means something. Craft means bacon. And oh, so crispy. Craft means a good cayenne kick and all-natural buttermilk marinated, made fresh, perfectly fried chicken. All served on toasted brioche buns. At Slim Chickens, craft means quality. And for a limited time, try our new Memphis-style barbecue chicken sandwich. Try Slim's craft sandwiches today. Slim Chickens.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Mothers at 784-6601, 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Damsel in Defense presents Defend Your Stance. Got an opinion? Time to defend it. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Kyle Wright, host of the Right On Sports Show as well. And this is Defend Your Stance. It's brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. We pity the fool who doesn't use our tool, and they will be in Jacksonville this weekend. We also have a big softball tournament that is happening out there at Frank Brown and the Public Sports Complex, brought to you by Ed Alf. They do such a fantastic job. This is the third year running of this tournament. I played in the first 2 years. Haven't been playing a lot of softball lately, so I didn't play this year. Kyle was supposed to be in it. He ended up injuring his leg a few weeks ago playing some basketball. Dummy. Goodness gracious.
Lost out on a $300 softball tournament for a pickup basketball game.
But the reason I was bringing that up is traffic might be a little bit hectic out there. And then for those of you who might be scanning the radio right now down here playing spider softball, you might have some time to get out there to the beach. If you see 2 red flags flying,
or any tourist for that matter that
is scanning and listening, if you see 2 red flags flying, don't get in the water. It's dangerous. Even us who live here and have maybe back in the past before, we knew better, would get out there and trouble is just right around the corner anytime that you play with that. They use that flag system for a reason.
Yep.
And not only is it a little bit selfish because yesterday we had, I believe it was a family of 3 and, they got caught out there. Then you got 6 rescuers had to go out there. They ended up getting stuck, so they had to form a human chain to get them back in the water. And it's no surprise sometimes when those guys, the rescuers, are a little brash, a little like, come on, man, like this is not a secret that you shouldn't be in the water, and this is why. So not only are you putting other people's lives in danger, but you're also putting your wallet in a little bit of danger because you will get a fine for that.
As you should. Like you said, you're not only putting your own. If it was your own life and your own life only, then I guess it would be like swim at your own risk. That's what it would say. But you're putting other people at risk. Because people are going to.
If you go out there and you start floundering, not just that, but if you go out there and start floundering, you know what I'm saying? What's the thought going on in your head? Somebody save me. Who's going to save you? Who's going to save you? You're either going to have a bystander or you're going to have first responders come out there. And big shout out to our first responders, all that they do. They have been extremely busy lately and doing a great job of it. Hey, but this right here is Defend Your Stance, and we're going to be defending our GOAT of GOAT stances. Had a wild one yesterday out of Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady went absolutely berserk. But tell us a little bit about this tournament and what's going to be happening next Wednesday on the Right On Sports Show.
Yeah, so this is it's funny because the whole reason we started the GOAT of GOATs tournament was on the heels of Tom Brady's retirement, which is now null and void.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Had he not decided to come back, he might have beat Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he may have beat Tiger yesterday, but it's funny because that's the whole reason we started this whole thing was on the heels of Tom Brady's retirement because we're like 7 Super Bowl rings. Is he the GOAT of GOATs? So we started taking names, and believe it or not, we took 72 names and we put them into a randomizer. So like Tiger Woods facing Tom Brady could have been a Final Four matchup. Really, in some aspects, could have been the final matchup.
Yep.
But random seeding put them against each other in the Sweet 16 or in the Elite 8 rather, and that's just the way it went. But believe it or not, we picked 72 names and we still missed people.
Yeah.
So this Wednesday, Right On Sports Show, 7 p.m. start time, we are going to have the GOAT of GOATs finale special. It's going to be the Final Four. Whoever ends up winning these 2 matchups today and tomorrow will go on to the Final Four, and that'll all be in one special on Wednesday. That'll be myself, Nick Gurley, David Hayes will be in the studio.
Yes, sir.
Marcus Weisner, Adam Goff, AG, and Jake McGowan. So we're going to have a 6-man panel.
Jake's going to be there. Let's go.
And it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's pretty much like it's a when worlds collide kind of thing, and it's going to be just to let you guys know, we're uncensored, we're unfiltered. Like we don't have the FCC or breathing down our necks over there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be drinking beer and just talking GOAT of GOATs. It's going to be a great time.
No doubt about it. Can't wait for that. But let's get into our matchups today. Which one you want to start with here? We got Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant.
I would say
Big Me versus Mini Me, and then Serena versus Dion.
From the world of sports aspect, Jordan versus Kobe is the better matchup, right? Because this is like a GOAT debate within their own sport.
Yeah.
However, from a fan vote aspect, this one's not even close. And for obvious reasons, Michael Jordan is I don't think unquestionable, but in many people's eyes, the unquestionable GOAT of the NBA. So.
And I think Gator Jamie, William Walker, put it the best, right? I think that it was, Kobe is MJ light.
Yes.
And you can spell light however you want to. If you're Miller, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But he is Michael Jordan light. So I think that with only having about 2 minutes here in this segment, we're going to have to revisit it here in the next segment after we get going over our top 5 favorite baseball players that do not play on our team. Go ahead and send us your list in now. We'll read them off on the show, 850-215-6290. But Serena versus Dion. Dion made a great run, right? Which one was the one that was just like crazy that took down? Was it Lawrence Taylor?
Dion took down Lawrence Taylor,
yeah.
And then Dion took down Emmitt Smith.
Yeah. That one was a little surprising because, there's some stats that only Emmett has in the league, but then you've got the argument of the offensive line that he had and all of the pieces around him kind of made him better, but he still, after that many years, is still the number 1 rusher in the league. But Serena versus Dion here, who are you going? Well, I'll go first. We both have the same pick.
Yes, we do.
I'm going with Serena Williams, though. For my reasoning behind that is when you talk about all of the things, championships, impact on world, impact on sports, statistics, maybe you can give the edge to Dion in the world of statistics because it's hard to quantify exact statistics in tennis outside of win and losses. I mean, for me, right, because I'm not as studied into the world of tennis, but pretty much she ticks every box. So why do you have Serena?
I mean, because what one of the biggest debates since the beginning of the Go to Goats tournaments is which one's more important to the person, an individual sport or a team sport?
Yeah.
Well, Serena Williams, from a certain point of view, has dominated both.
Yeah.
I mean, as an individual tennis player and teaming in doubles with her sister Venus. I mean, she has been absolutely dominant for years upon years upon years, still doing it. Just had a movie about her story and their father, of course.
King Richard.
King Richard winning
Shout
an
out
Oscar.
Will Smith.
Shout out Will Smith. Some people saw that movie as a little disrespectful, a slap in the face, if you will.
Really?
But it was a joke about Will Smith and Chris Rock. But
It went right over my head.
Right over your head.
I was going to say, am I blonde today? No, I'm still bald.
Nope, still bald. But the light shining off of it does reflect the blonde tint. So
no doubt.
We're up against the break here.
Yeah,
right?
we are up against the break.
But Serena over Dion and MJ over Kobe.
I hate how fast this segment has to go, but we got to be back inside of your cars here at 5 o'clock, top of the hour. And then right after that, at 5:15, we've got the Real Fishing Report with Babe, Breeze, and Tackle. You're not going to want to miss that. Trust me when I say it. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. It's 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida and 102.1 in Mariana.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your radio home for live and local sports coverage. For the most high school and college sports from right here in our local area, it's the Coach James Sales Show, weekday mornings 7 till 9. Then the ride home is alive and kicking with the Afternoon Underdogs, covering the gamut of sports. Plus, the radio home for the defending world champion Atlanta Braves. Your local sports station is ESPN Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida are proud members of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We'd like to welcome the newest members to the Beach Chamber.
Beach Yard Cards, Health Supply 770 Incorporated, Emerald Kush Farms, John Douglas Insurance, Jute and Palm, Sherwin-Williams, Sunspot Realty, and Wild Grace.
Congratulations from the area's only sports radio station, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
The original J. Michael's Restaurant on Thomas Drive, Panama City Beach, serving Bay County and visitors from the U.S., Canada, and around the world since 1976. A little Southern, a little Creole, and a lot of hospitality. Come enjoy J. Michael's Seafood Platter, red beans and rice, the best gumbo on the beach, and the world-famous Spaghetti Night on Wednesdays. 3210 Thomas Drive, J. Michael's Restaurant.
Are you concerned about safety when you travel? Emerald Coast Amsel specializes in self-protection. They offer a full line of safety products like men's and women's, RFID wallets, and concealed carry for purses. Lifetime incidental replacement plan and manufacturer's warranty on most items. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastdamsel.com. Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel in defense.
Atlanta Braves play here. WGSX Lynn WTOT W271DM Mariana. Powered by Pepsi. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dairyland is your land. It's car insurance that keeps you on the road so that you can make it to work on time. Its payment plans are flexible for when life gets complicated. It's affordable coverage to help you get back on the road again, even if you've taken a break. Because Dairyland is auto insurance that's customized to fit your life. Dairyland is your land.
Need cash payment options? We can help. Ellis Agency Insurance, helping serve Panhandle drivers since 2009. Call 763-1627 or visit ellisagency.net.
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, also 102.1 in Marianna area. So excited to be able to bring you guys some great coverage. And now you guys can tune in 5:50 tonight to hear the Atlanta Braves start the defense of the World Series. 5:50. Cannot wait for it. We're going to pivot a little bit. Wright State Chris said, hey, you mind if I ask Kyle Wright some questions real quick? So it's Kyle's corner now. Hey, what's going on, Wright State?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. NFL draft's coming up. A lot of big boards have Sauce as the number 1 or number 2 guy on their board, even though he's not going to go 1 or 2, but they're saying he's the best one out there. So a lot of good stuff for Cincy right now, which is nice.
Yes, sir.
But transitioning to the Reds, Kyle Wright.
Yes, sir.
Do you still think the Reds should be the very first game played every year?
I mean, if we're going with tradition, absolutely, right? I mean, they're baseball's oldest franchise, but I understand from a rating standpoint that can't really happen because not only the Reds are just not interesting to a non-Reds fan, and I understand that. I really do.
I think they were somewhat interesting last year because of where their expectations lied.
Right? Yeah, but it's tough, man. It's like, yeah. I didn't watch very much non-Reds baseball last year, but to a non-Reds fan, there's still no reason for me to ask them to have to sit through a Reds game.
I've been to an opening day game at the Reds, and it's awesome, except for the fact it's like 40 to 50 degrees, but it's better than Cleveland, so I'll just say that. Well, the next question I have is if you're making a World Series run, you're going to take the Nasty Boys, or you taking the night shift? Who are you taking?
Obviously, I was born in 1992, so a little bit before my time. But I mean, I got to go with the homer pick here. The Nasty Boys. I mean, there's a reason that they are forever going to be remembered as the best bullpen of all time.
Yeah, you got Rob Dibble holding down the whole thing. That's the only thing is you don't know if Rob Dibble is going to get arrested after a game or not.
Right, State Chris, as many times as I've had you on here, especially talking college baseball with me ahead of the College World Series, I don't think that I've ever found out who your Major League Baseball team is. Is it the Reds?
No. One of my dad's family are Reds fan. They used to go to Crosley Field. No, I lived in Atlanta or Marietta for about 9 years in the early to mid 90s. So I'm a Braves fan through and through. I got a lot of different college football teams besides Cincy, but the Braves are my number 1 team because I lived in Atlanta. And I was actually at Game 6 of the 95 World Series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How awesome.
Yeah,
so let's take bias
game.
out of it, though. And since you were around for the Nasty Boys, give me your take on that, Nasty Boys or the night shift.
Back in the 90s, if you look at who the Reds played in the World Series, it was the A's. I'm correcting that, right?
Yes.
It was the A's. Just the fact, if you look at that A's lineup and who they had, like the Nasty Boys, just the fact that they could come in and you can intimidate batters back then. They weren't wearing all the gear. They weren't doing this. They weren't doing that. They weren't getting thrown out. Just the fact that you can intimidate the batters back then. I got to go with the Nasty Boys just from an intimidation standpoint. Now, from a pure pitching standpoint, what Matzik and all them did against the Dodgers is unbelievable. Just the fact that in Game 6, getting all those runners, getting Pujols to strike out, and then it's ingrained in my mind. But that Reds team is like, people are going to forget about Eric Young and Barry Larkin. You can't forget about him if you're a Reds fan. But that team's so iconic to me just for the fact that who you got on that team and just the fact that, in the 80s, I think it was Eric Young, right? Or who was your center fielder? Was it Young or was it? I don't know.
He just told you he wasn't even born then.
I don't want to make it sound like I don't engulf myself in the history of the Cincinnati Reds, but I more became a baseball fan in the early to mid 2000s. So around
he was the first 40-40 guy. Their center fielder was like their first 40-40 guy. He was like the best player of like the 80s basically. And they had Barry Larkin, who I feel like was a better all-around shortstop than Ozzie Smith. Now, you can argue with me on that. But,
well, I think Barry Larkin's probably the best shortstop of all time.
I think, and if you ask me, it's like recency bias because I got to watch Barry Larkin, got to play video games not with Barry Larkin, but using Barry Larkin, whereas Ozzie Smith, though, man, one of the guys who was most influential and instrumental in me learning the position of shortstop, and Mike Christian down in Tampa. His favorite shortstop was Ozzie Smith. So, I got a lot of Ozzie infiltration information from my coach there.
Yeah, and Larkin's a Cincy guy too, and his whole family's athletic. His son played in the NBA. His brother's like the all-time leading scorer for Xavier basketball. That's just a very athletic family right there.
Hey, it was Eric Davis, not Eric Young.
Eric Davis. That's
44.
Thank you, Irish Dave Brown. Appreciate that.
That's who they were saying. Aristides Aquino reminded him a lot when he came when he first came in. Remember when he hit like 15 home runs in 20 days or whatever?
I was still trying to figure out his name then.
I do know a little bit about the Nasty Boys, though, and I will say this, and I know I get a lot of flack for ripping on the Braves a little bit, and that's just because I'm a troll. But this part right here is not
a big old troll. How big is that bridge? You're at the Skyway Bridge or something?
I'm under the halfway, baby, hitting my head every day. I will say that the Nasty Boys dominated the entire 1990 season, not just in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a fact.
The night shift really, the Braves' biggest concern almost all year was the bullpen, and they really I don't want to say they played above their head in the playoffs. They just exceeded expectations, and that's where they got that moniker. So there's your argument for the Nasty Boys.
Yep. But all right, guys, hey, thank you very much. Let's go Braves. Have a good night.
I love it, man. Y'all keep it tuned in right here, because as soon as the Afternoon Underdogs is over, we'll be getting you to the coverage of the Atlanta Braves. 5:50 start time tonight. Can't wait for it, man. It's going to be a fantastic game. First pitch isn't until 7. You'll get all of the celebrations, the raising of the banner, and that's why instead of just going to the end of the show, we'll get you to the full 75-minute pregame, and then to first pitch at about, I think that they're actually going to be, first pitch is going to be around 7:08. You know how ESPN games do.
Yeah.
And then it'll probably come at 7:12.
I appreciate that, though, by the way. Right, say, Chris. I like a little Kyle Wright AMA.
Yeah.
Come on in.
no doubt. All right, so we had this planned earlier for our top 5 baseball players that do not play on our teams. Now, I didn't put any pitchers on my list. Did you?
I have no pitchers on my list.
All right, so we'll do that. Maybe save that for next week when we have Marcus.
Joe Kelly, honorable mention, though. I do want to say I love Joe Kelly.
I did want to say something about what he was talking about with, the Reds beat the Athletics and being able to intimidate and all of that great stuff. Well, the Braves not only knocked off the Dodgers, but then they turn around and beat one of the most hated but one of the greatest offensive teams, you know what I mean, in the Houston Astros. So there is something to be said about that. But great point, though, on the night shift, just kind of coming in, playoffs, and then they get that name.
I don't want to I don't want that to be twisted and to be disrespecting the Braves.
No, it doesn't feel like that at all.
Put together, but that was just a cold hard truth.
All right, we only got a few minutes here before we got to get to the next segment in the Real Fishing Report. Can't wait for that with Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Number 5 for me is going to be Bo Bichette. He's the shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm loving what the Blue Jays got. The whole, dads used to play with Dante. His dad was Dante Bichette, Vlad Sr., and then and then Craig Biggio's son, Kavan. Number 4 for me. Or you want to go opposite ends? All right, let's go.
I'll run number 5 here. I got Juan Soto, on-base machine. I love I don't know, man. I just love what he brings to the game. I love that he was in the stands watching his best friend Trey Turner in a Trey Turner Washington Nationals jersey after the trade last year. I just something about a guy like that who doesn't let trades or team changes, I should say. I'm stumbling all over the place today, which is great because we don't have a third person to alley-oop this to.
It's all right.
But Juan Soto got to be number 5, on-base machine.
See, I've got Juan Soto in my honorable mentions for sure. I can't believe that I put this next guy in because he's in the same division as us, and that was one of the reasons Juan Soto didn't make my list, so I had to bring some bias in here. But number 4 for me is going to be one of the speediest catchers in the game, still reliable defensively and great offensively, in JT Realmuto.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me, just signed a big extension to stay in Cleveland, Jose Ramirez.
Dude, how awesome is that he got that deal? Talk about somebody who deserves it. He's like really the last remaining piece of that Cleveland team that played the Cubs in the World Series.
Absolutely. And, Jose, I think it's big, like when you've got all the negativity coming on Cleveland for the name change in the offseason, especially from their own fan base, to have the courage to stay on that team, that means a lot to me. And I mean, as you're going to see here, because my next 2 picks after Jose are still third baseman, I think third base is the hardest position in baseball to play, in softball to play. It's the hot corner for a reason.
Yeah, that's a great take there. Number 3, speaking of the hot corner, except for last year, he kind of moved all around the field, finding himself in a new jersey, which his home runs are definitely going to go up if he stays healthy. Chris Bryant never played for a losing team. I've always loved the way he has fun, but he plays the game in such a way that's there's passion there, you know? So Chris Bryant, for me, comes in at number 3.
Number 3 for me is Rafael Devers. I've always
under the radar,
under the radar, man. I've always really liked the Boston Red Sox for some reason. I think it dates back to Manny Ramirez. I mean, that dude was just everything that you wanted in a baseball player. And I mean, Rafael Devers is the leader, the unquestioned leader of the Boston Red Sox.
Dude, for me, my favorite player, and I'm not going on number 2 right here, but my favorite player on the Red Sox is Alex Verdugo.
I love Verdugo too. That dude's hot-headed, but I love him.
Number 2 is a guy who really doesn't get it done in the regular season, but come postseason, it's like a flip switch. It almost reminds me of what the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to do in the playoffs, but Randy Arozarena, I just love the way that he plays the game, especially when it comes to the postseason.
I like Randy Arozarena. 2-time Rookie of the Year almost.
It helps when you got that age on your side.
on that Ben Simmons train. I've got you've got a division rival in yours, right?
Yeah.
I got a division rival in mine. Nolan Arenado.
How can you not?
How can you not respect the way that dude plays the game? He never runs his mouth. He's the best third baseman in baseball, I think, to this day. I'm just all around. When you take the whole aspect of the game,
it's like he's great offensively, right? But what's his expertise is defensively.
He's a Gold Glover. I mean, he's everything you want. He's a leader. He's great. Nolan Arenado, number 2.
I love that. For me, number 1 is going to go to the biggest rival, but he's my favorite player to play. He's the reason the Braves didn't make it to the World Series in 2020. It's Mookie Betts, man. 5-tool. He doesn't play to the amount that he gets paid necessarily, but how can anyone make really play worth that amount of money? But Mookie's all over the field. He does it on the base pass. He's fun to watch. Honorable mentions for me: Trey Turner, Vlad Jr., Juan Soto, Jose Altuve, even though he played for the Astros, and then Verdugo.
Man, oh man. I didn't even think about Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to slide Soto out, move Ramirez down to 5, and put Mook at 4.
Okay.
I went through the teams, and I was trying to think of everybody, and I didn't even go over there. My number 1, former Red, just left the team.
Which one? Which one?
I got about 20 of them to name. Nick Castellanos.
Yeah.
The dude brings a different swag to the team. He just did. I mean, when he got up and yelled in the pitcher's face last year, the biggest, obviously, the first big suspension of the baseball season when it was the Cardinals against the Reds. We're going to miss that. We're going to miss that in the locker room. Honorable mentions, of course, that'll push Juan Soto out. I love Trey Turner. I really do like that guy. I like Justin Turner. I like that guy as well, man.
I do too, in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I like Aroldis Chapman, of course. And I really like Anthony Rizzo.
Ooh, he's a fan favorite no matter where he goes. And we've got the Real Fishing Report with Babe Breeze, Bait and Tackle, coming up next. You don't want to miss it. If you got any, questions for us or questions for Tim, 850-215-6290. You can call or text. We'll be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, light breezes from the northwest, 52 to 58 for the low. A sunny, windy day for Friday, near 70, and a west wind will gust to 30 miles per hour. Mostly clear Friday night, around 50, rather breezy. Sunday this weekend, upper 60s and low 70s, Saturday and Sunday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Offord Tire and Service Center in Callaway. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Atlanta Braves baseball is back.
Swing and a drive. That's hammered deep right. He jumped on one and hits a homer.
We're your exclusive radio home for the Atlanta Braves.
At the wall. It is gone. A grand slam for Acuna.
Hear every exciting home run, every strikeout, and every thrilling victory on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Swampy Jack here. I've traveled the world for decades and brought my most exciting adventures to Panama City Beach. Encounter the 25-foot-tall Swamp Ape. This indoor scrambler ride is synchronized for a multimedia experience like you've never felt. Put the pedal to the metal, racing around the Marrakesh track in electric go-karts. Supercharge your cart with special power-ups for extra speed or to sabotage opponents. And if you're hungry, grab a meal at Swampy's Cantina or enjoy an ice-cold beer. This and more at Swampy Jack's.
In 22, the thing to do is reboot the whole family at That Boot Store. With name brand Western wear for the smallest to the largest Wrangler is available at That Boot Store. Need durable name brand Carhartt work clothes at a price you can afford? Stop by That Boot Store. Next to Billboard Kia on 15th Street. Open Tuesday through Thursday 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday 9 to 5:30. Remember Joe's motto, always keep Jesus in your new year.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
His cologne is made out of tiger blood. He's seen every Vin Diesel movie and... winning. He's dating your daughter. David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. Live from the Rib Crib Radio Room, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
4 days a week.
I'm excited about this segment right here, man. This is the Real Fishing Report brought to you by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. And we've got in the studio with us Tim Braddock, who is with Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Tim, how's it going, my man?
Man, doing great. Looking forward to a great weekend. The weather's a little dicey for us this weekend, particularly on the wind side. But the fishing's turned on about 3 weeks ago, and so we're looking for a great weekend. Lots of people coming into town fishing, and then obviously the charter and the professional guys are busy at it now as well. So the fishing season's really kicked off in full swing, and we're all looking forward to it. So
I am excited for it. So first, let's talk about what Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle does and where they're located for our listeners.
Sure. So Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle is located on the west end of Panama City Beach. The majority of our fishing is saltwater, and our product makeup comprises about 90% of it is related to onshore or from shore, and then offshore, and then we also have the inshore guys that fish the flats, and then you'll see them stacked up by the jetty sometimes, and sometimes stacked up by the Hathaway Bridge, and so we really have a good mix. We have a good representation of the fly community as well. There's quite a bit of fly fishing in the Panhandle, and
where do they do that at?
I was gonna say that's the first I've heard that.
Yeah, so fly fishing's probably one of the most least talked about fishing in the entire Panhandle. But anywhere you can catch redfish, trout, pompano, the tarpon come through during the summertime. And so,
fly fishing for tarpon.
Oh yeah, fly fishing for
good
tarpon
night.
In Panama City Beach. So, that's it's a very technical type of fishing. To this day, I started fly fishing in this area about 7 years ago, and to this day, I still go with a guide service. Because it's there's a lot of detail involved in it, and so fly fishing is a great area if somebody's looking to kind of change up their fishing mantra, if you would. Fly fishing's a solid option for this area. One of the hottest types of fly fishing right now is going to be from surf. So particularly, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the forecast, but when the winds lay down on Sunday morning, we have guys that just start walking the beach looking for knots of pompano, and at that point they'll start throwing fiddler crab patterns and sand flea patterns and even shrimp patterns at the pompano, the schools of pompano. So pretty cool.
I want to know what a pattern is.
Yeah, or a fly. So
okay.
Fly pattern.
All right. So I was like, I know we got a lot to cover here, but I need to know what that is.
Yeah,
Right?
a pattern's going to be a type of fly. I know in our shop right now we carry about 60 different patterns. We're also bringing in fly tying material, which allows the anglers to be able to tie any pattern they'd like. And we get them typically started off with a small minnow-looking pattern called a clouser, and that's a very simple tie. And more than once, we have guys that come in, give them the clouser, send them up to Burnt Mill Creek, and have them go out there and wade around and end up catching a redfish or a trout. So it's really cool to see.
That's what I'm excited most about this segment is to up my redfish game. Trout somehow always find my hook when I'm looking for the redfish. But let's talk about what's happening offshore right now and what the focus is right now for fishermen.
Absolutely. So offshore's, again, the weather's been not so nice, particularly the winds. We look at a day like today where it's beautiful and sunny, and then tomorrow we're supposed to have good weather. The problem is tomorrow they're forecasting up to 30-mile-an-hour winds in some locations.
Good, nice.
So the Gulf at that point turns into a pretty big mess. We'll see swells anywhere from 9 to 10 feet over Friday and Saturday morning in particular. So we really are starting to kick off this week. Cobia have been in for almost 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and we're starting to see more cobia caught regularly, both from our recreational guys and then also from the charter services as well. They've landed a few from the piers, both the county and the city pier. So it's cobia is always fun to catch. Most of the time it's a sight cast, so you physically see it. It reminds me a little bit of deer hunting. You got to have some patience trolling up and down the beach if you're in a boat sitting in a tower. Then once you see it, it's game on, and it's a race or a challenge to get that cobia hooked. So we'll look forward to particularly Sunday morning on into Monday. We should see several cobia caught over the weekend, and both from boats and then also from the piers as well.
That is neat. I need to get out of the pier more and try to get me some cobia. How about inshore here, and what should the focus be on the inshore side of things?
Yeah, so inshore right now is a lot of fun. We can tuck people away in the shop. We get all types of anglers. We help essentially several hundred anglers a month try to find exactly where they're going to fish. So we have a small craft advisory all weekend up until about midday on Saturday. And so a lot of times those guys will tuck up into the backwaters. We can go into the intercoastal. Our shop is conveniently located right between the Chattahoochee Bay and West Bay. So we have the intercoastal there, which is a good advantage to be able to be protected out of the wind a little bit. So some of the charter services that frequent the shop will tuck in there and take clients in there. We typically, this time of year, will see decent redfish caught. We'll start to see kind of the fade out of the sheep's head. Sheep's head have been really on fire for the past 3 weeks. And we'll start to see those start to move out and a lot less of those caught. But redfish this weekend definitely will be a good option to be able to go inshore. Look to do that around high tide. So.
All right. And then for the surf, the pier, and the jetties, what are we looking at there?
Yeah, so surf, pier, and jetties includes a large range of anglers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are guys that, like to go offshore. And again, this weekend that may be a little limited on Friday or Saturday. The pier and the jetties, and then particularly surf, give those guys that option. Surf fishing's a lot of fun. You can sit back, relax. I personally like to smoke cigars while I'm out there surf fishing. And the pompano showed up about 3 weeks ago. We started catching them pretty regularly. And then the past 2 Sundays in particular have been large pompano days. In other words, I'm having customers come in reporting limits of pompano being caught, which is 6 per person. And then the commercial guys are doing very well with the pompano as well from surf. So we're looking for the surf to be pretty good. Again, the pompano is kind of the main talk right now. We've seen a lot of different fish. The jacks were running the beach last week, Jack Creval's. So we had a couple customers land a few jacks. One in particular is a local resident and saw his rod and reel go bouncing down the beach with his sand spike and had to go catch up to it when about a 35-pound jack got a hold on the other end. So surf fishing is a lot of fun. The piers and the jetty both, again, have been producing Spanish pretty frequently as well. Spanish mackerel moved in.
So I'm glad we mentioned surf fishing because this is something that I've been wanting to get into. One of our co-hosts here, Adam Goff, took me surf fishing one time. It was the first time I had ever been. So I'm a guy, all I have is an ugly stick.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I've got. I just go bass fishing. That's always been my moniker. But I do want to get into surf fishing because it is the easiest thing to do here. And as you said, it's a nice, relaxing form of fishing. So if I come to 21301 Panama City Beach Parkway to Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, just before you reach Shark Tooth, if you're heading west, right? So
Correct.
just there on the left.
That's it, on the left.
I just wanted to throw that plug in there. I thought that was really well
No,
done.
it was because we literally just got it. We literally just got a text on what the address was. So I was gonna bring that up when we got back. Good stuff, my man.
Make sure you guys go check this out. But if I walk into that store, let's say I go in there tomorrow and I want to go get myself a starting kit to go surf fishing, what do I need to make sure I get?
So gear is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. I love gear and pairing rod and reels. But we typically like to start out with at least an 8-foot rod on surf fishing. We do have anglers that like to go out there with micro lights, so little, 4.5 to 5 foot rods with 6-pound test, and they'll try to land, a 30-inch redfish on that.
That's not going to work out so well.
Yeah, it's we do have some guys that like to land pompano off those as well. But typically, you come into my shop, we're talking about an 8-foot rod minimal. And a minimum of a 4,000 size spool. We use both braid and mono from the surf, and then from there, and those fishing combos will cost you around $85 to get started.
That's not a bad price, especially it's coming from a quality bait and tackle shop in Bay Breeze.
Absolutely, and then as far as your bait and your rigs go, $20 is kind of that starting price point on. To get your baits, your rigs, your weights. And we're going to talk a little bit about those rigs in the product segment coming up as well. And so again, $20 kind of gets you started on your bait, your rigs, and your tackle. There's probably 50 different ways to fish from surf. There's tons of YouTube content that exists out there. But at Bay Breeze, we focus on the tried and true methods that have worked in the surf fishing area. So
yeah, man, I wish that today wasn't a shorter show so that we could just kind of do another segment. But let's get into the product focus and what we should be focusing on right now.
Yeah, so when it comes to product focus, we're going to talk specifically about pompano. So a lot of people don't know that you can catch pompano from the jetties. Most just associate it with the surf or even fewer maybe from the pier, but probably the least recognized area you can catch pompano around the jetties, moving in and out. We typically will use jigs in that case, just like we would from the pier. And those jigs usually are around a 3/4 ounce jig. We at Bay Breeze typically recommend a pink-white jig with a quill on it. And then we also will tip it with a small sand flea. So there's different sizes of sand fleas. We stock at the shop. We call them jig tippers. So they're specifically sized and sorted to be able to tip on the end of your pompano jig. And you get 30 to 40 fleas for $5 and can go out there and have as much fun casting those jigs. You want to make sure you give it about 20 seconds to 30 seconds to begin its sink. And then give it a nice steady reel back to you, whether you're on a boat or whether you're on the pier. Then also, probably the most common way is just a standard 2-hook pompano rig. And we use these pompano rigs year-round. We catch everything off of them, from bluefish to large redfish from surf. There's a lot of tourists that come down, individuals that come down and vacation here that do not realize you can catch redfish in our surf. And they tend to have a platinum color. So rather than that deep red, or that we call them pumpkin reds, they'll look almost silver. And they obviously have the signature dot, or dots plural, on the tail. But we catch those off those 2-hook rigs. So those 2-hook pompano rigs, you'll notice there's floats on those rigs. One of the most common misconceptions we talk about in the shop every single day is a lot of times the floats, people think they're there to help float your bait, and that's not it at all. The floats are there specifically to act as an attractant to the fish. So it's an attention getter. It's a, hey, here's your next meal, if you would. And so we take those 2-hook rigs and bait them with sand fleas and shrimp primarily. Florida Sportsman's Magazine did a great article this past week on pairing your live or frozen sand flea or shrimp with a synthetic bait. And so those synthetics, there's 2 primaries in the Panhandle. One's called fish gum. Another one's called fish bites. Both made and produced in Florida.
Oh, wow.
So
Awesome.
Fish Bites is out of St. Augustine and is more nationally known. Fish Gum is made out of Navarre, Florida, and has a very good presence in the Panhandle. Both quality products. We get asked all the time which one catches more fish, and I ask them, do you like red tractors or green tractors? Do you like Chevy or do you like Ford?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I literally have been on 2 occasions in the exact same hole and caught the exact same number of redfish off of it, or the exact same number of pompanos. So both great products that are there. Those synthetics are there to help add scent, and then they're also there to help for bait retention. I'm a little weak in my casting game. I can cast about 80 to 100 yards, and I tend to overcast. I do the same thing in fly fishing, so I try to baseball throw my cast rather than giving it the proper arc that you need. And also, I'm right-hand dominant, so my left hand in that case is my power hand. So that's really where you get your distance and your power from your casting. Your right hand more acts as your guide. Whereas most people, if they're right-hand dominant, try to use that right hand.
I'm seeing myself doing that.
They use that right hand to do a baseball throw and try to get as much power out of that cast as they possibly can. So,
man, see if you can breeze through the weather forecast here, because we're up against a break right now.
Yeah, we'll breeze through this weather forecast. One thing to keep in mind, there's a small craft advisory in effect through Saturday morning. So we talked about it throughout the segment, but high winds expected. And so you inshore guys look to kind of tuck away into the bayous and the backwater areas. And my surf fishing guys, we have had a pretty good day, or pretty good report of pompano being caught. But tomorrow, with the winds being upwards of 30 miles an hour, it's going to be very difficult. I do want to make one comment. You mentioned earlier about staying out of the water with double red flags. I want to emphasize that again. And I personally lost a good friend of mine in college who was healthy, in shape, and unfortunately drowned. And we did the same thing. We thought, man, we're all good. Went out in double red flags. So if you're out surf fishing, please respect the double red flags and stay out of the surf.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to this segment, man. I'm going to learn so much. We appreciate you, Tim Braddock. He is with Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. This is the Real Fishing Report. And we'll also have another, you can be able to hear a smaller version of this tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. All right. Hey, that is Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, the Real Fishing Report. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back, y'all.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hales Show.
If you're having a heart attack, the great thing to do is take 4 or 5 aspirin, dry 4 or 5 hours. It kind of smooths you out.
Get you a chocolate milkshake.
McDonald's French fries when you get hungry.
Yeah, that'll help kind of block up the heart there.
He said he knew after he went to the doctor he wouldn't be able to do this anymore, so he ate that hamburger, French fries, and milkshake. So anyway.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Since 1989, Best Way Portable Buildings has been serving this area. It's one thing to rent storage space for a month or two, but long-term rentals can cost more than $100 a month, more than $1,200 a year, more than $6,000 for 5 years. Why not move your storage to your yard in your very own site-built Best Way Portable Building? Financing is available with approved credit. Best Way Portable Buildings, Highway 231, just down from Hart's Marine. On the internet at bestwayportablebuildings.com.
Hi, I'm Bobby Lycus with today's Car Clinic Minute. You're being watched. Your every move is being recorded. FBI, CIA, IRS? Nope. These spies are short, love Barney, and only sometimes fasten their seatbelts.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Lycus Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Your mom was right. Monkey see, monkey do. Research confirms that when drivers, that's you, buckle their seatbelts, kids are more likely to follow suit. 94% more likely. Here's the so what. Collisions are the leading cause of children's death in the U.S., and 6 of every 10 kids that die in a crash are not buckled up. And that's not counting the thousands more that are injured. Come on, parents, buckle up. It's cheap insurance for precious lives, yours and your children's. I'm Bobby Lycus. Like us, you'll love us.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
Danger's my middle name.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs, inside the Rib Crib Radio Room. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dude, what a segment. I am looking forward to that. Every Thursday at 5:15, we're going to be bringing you the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock, Bay Breeze, Bait and Tackle out there, 21301 Panama City Beach Parkway. Dude, didn't even know we had fly fishing here in Panama City.
No,
I thought that was like a Colorado lake stream type of thing.
I know it's big up in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area,
Okay.
Sweetwater Creek. I know people love to do it up there, and obviously out in, like you just said, like Montana, Colorado, like
Yeah.
all the areas, obviously, because that's what.
That's all they got. No, I'm just kidding.
Trout.
I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
that's all but like
Well, they
rainbow
don't
trout,
have. They
right?
don't have. The ocean and stuff.
Right, exactly. Unless
Or the Gulf, rather. Let me not say the ocean because I'll get blasted on here.
It's the Gulf.
It's the Gulf.
I will be the one blasting you.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm with you, man. I totally understand.
Dude, that was awesome, though. I completely agree, and I mean, he was so informative, so
conversational,
very
educational.
comfortable
Yeah.
on the mic as well. Phone's ringing, so while you're answering that, I want to go ahead and plug today. Incredible story. Tiger Woods back on the golf course for the first time in 15 months. He had a terrible accident last February. We never would have thought he was going to be playing in this Masters. Tiger Woods comes out today and just absolutely floors everybody with his performance. Now, Tiger today, I'm talking about Tiger Woods.
Good. I mean, I can't believe we've gotten to this point in the show, literally our last segment, because we got to get you to the Braves, and we're just now bringing up the return of Tiger Woods.
Dude, I mean, just how impressive was he today? He got himself out of some big-time trouble.
You put a great post up on Facebook. I don't know if you were talking about that while I was on the phone, but kind of dive
wasn't.
into that.
No, so I mean, Tiger's performance today, it was great because it's inspiring, right? I mean, literally 15 months removed. I know I just said that from a disgusting, terrible accident where he almost lost his leg. We talked about this with Alex Smith in the past. We've seen this with Joe Theismann. It's nasty, man. Some people don't ever come back from these injuries, and now he's back on the grandest stage of them all, the Super Bowl of golf, the Masters. And he shoots 1 under today, and he hit some bad shots. But Tiger Woods really had a confusing day, because he was a couple shots away from being 4 or 5 over.
I mean, there were so many times, right? We're talking about a guy who just got done breaking his leg in multiple different areas, and he hits it, far right. And it's even you're hearing the old Tiger, and then next thing you know, he's coming out of the pine straw and is turning what looks to be bogeys or double bogeys into pars.
Yep. And then, of course, at the same time, don't forget your glasses, brother. At the same, I wanted to make sure you knew it because they were kind of tucked into the couch.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But at the same time, like he also had some opportunities that should have been birdies that became pars. So he could have been 4 or 5 over. He ended up 1 under, but he also could have been 4 or 5 under.
And Todd Mitchell says, if Tiger wins the Masters, does he get an automatic bye to the Final Four of the Goat of Goats tourney?
I don't know if he's going to need the automatic bye.
Yeah, are we allowed to give out? It's up to you. Are we allowed to give up
I don't know.
Let's not do that. Let's save it.
Well, who is this? Oh, his Elite 8 opponent.
Yeah, his Elite 8 opponent.
It's Tiger against...
I think it's someone tough. I can't remember off the
Usain
top.
Bolt.
Oh, man. That one, it's a battle of individual sports.
Yep, so that's going to be probably the most underrated matchup of the whole thing.
Let's real quick, we can get right back to the Masters. I really want to be able to bring up where we're at in our Masters little tournament that we got going. Now, I wasn't able to get 40 participants, but we've got enough to do $50 worth of gift cards and an ESPN t-shirt, and I'm going to try to finagle a Golf Plus t-shirt out of Alan Watson. In the world of high school baseball...
What are you talking about?
For the Master, we've got like a little promotional thing for the Masters tournament.
I didn't know about that.
I'll put it up on Facebook, buddy. That's your fault. And you should have listened to the show yesterday.
I don't scroll social media.
Yeah. All right.
I had my show yesterday.
Real quick, a couple of shout outs here. JD Padilla is 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, specifically the Afternoon Underdogs fighter. Coming in at 5'11", 180 pounds. He is in the most exciting division in MMA. He is a Marine. He served in Iraq. He's a high school wrestling state champion. He works for Bay Handyman Services, where no job is too small or too big. And he also fights for our great friends in Impact Promotions. He'll be fighting in the month of June. High school baseball, South Walton over Carlisle, 7-3. Baker over Paxton, 2-0. Mariana over Bay, 7-0. Central over Freeport, 7-2. McIntosh over Arnold, 4-0. And then Nathan Webb's headed to Bluefield. Wednesday, April 20th will be his scholarship signing. They're having that at Rib Crib from 4 to 5:30. So go pack Rib Crib out April 20th from 4 to 5:30. He'll be signing his scholarship there. Friends and family and everyone else who wants to show up and participate and send them off in a very great way. What else?
We talked about something pre-show.
Yeah.
That I want to it's perfect for the local spotlight.
No doubt.
Because we were going to put this at some point of the show. We had talked about Jeremy Brown being hired over at Bay High School. Jeremy Brown obviously coached at Mosley for, how long was he at Mosley? For
I believe 8 years.
Yeah, for 2012 to 2020, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
The
because
alumni,
the pandemic. So basically, after the pandemic, he went 4-4, so they let him go.
Who's the Bay High basketball coach?
Rusty Cook.
Rusty Cook. I couldn't remember his first name, Coach Cook. He had an interesting text to you that the negative response from the alumni was kind of the same response that he got when he took that job. And you brought up an interesting question that I want to bring up here. So who holds more merit? Or who turns the needle more in sports?
Who moves the needle more? Who moves the needle more? Especially like when you really have to look at it from high school, college, and professional. You have to use different eyes on each. But who is the one that's winning the championship? Not just winning the championships. Who is the producer really? Is it the players that move the needle? Can you have a bad coach and great players and do great? Can you have great players and a bad a great coach and bad players and do great? And so what's your synopsis of that?
That's a tough question, right? Because it's one of those, like, no doubt, right? Like no kidding, Kyle, because it really depends on the situation.
Yeah, 100%.
We saw a lot of talent go through Mosley High School when he was there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of talent. Some guys that made it to a very high standard of being a collegiate athlete. I think Tristan McCatherine was one of his products. Either that or Enrique Davis.
I believe
was one of his products. And we've seen a lot of good talent come from there. Obviously, Bay High has been putting out some good talent. So maybe I'm hoping that they can interact a little bit, or
Well, with him being an alumni, I think
Yeah.
that there's things there. But when it comes to the question,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
of-
didn't
yeah,
answer the
no,
question at
you're
all.
good. For me, we've only got about 2.5 minutes here. For me, it's one of those things where it's almost hand in hand in a sense, right? The coach's responsibility is to put the players in the position to succeed the most, right? So like if you've got a coach who's egotistical and is thinking of how great of a coach he is, he's really doing a disjustice to his players. If you've got players who don't respect the coach and think a la, and I hate to say this because he's one of the greatest players to do it, but a la LeBron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And think about his time in Miami, right? And it was like with Spoelstra, it was like I never thought like, why are they bringing Spoelstra in here? Well, turns out because he was with the Heat for so long as a video analyst before that, and he's still the coach now. You know what I mean? Whereas LeBron and his Lakers, hey, LeBron had a great year, but if he would have let the coach and the general managers do what they needed to do, they could be in a different position. Minute and a half here. Any more thoughts?
I mean, that you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think that in high school, I think that the players move the needle a little bit more.
Yeah.
But people are going to go to high school football games no matter what. College, obviously, recruiting is a big thing.
Mhm.
So the players are probably the ones that do that as well.
Yeah.
But once you get to the NFL, I think it really becomes a coach's game. And especially in today's league where
See, I would argue that, and I would say that I would think that it would be more of the players at the professional level.
I don't know. See, we need a lot more time to get
Oh,
into
we
that,
do.
right?
We absolutely do. I thought we had more time today, and then I came in here. I was like, oh wait, we don't actually have any more breaks after this one
Because of the shirts we were wearing.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you before we go
Yeah.
off the air today.
Final
the
score for tonight?
I want the final score for tonight, but I want your official win-loss projection on the Braves. I think you said it earlier.
91-71. 91-71.
Okay.
What about you for the Cincinnati Reds?
80 and 82.
80 and 82. Not bad. You would love it even more so, right, if they ended up going 82 and 80.
I mean, that's what they did last year, and they tore the team apart. So.
All right, we're out for today. Coach James Hill will be live at 7 a.m. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. It'll be me, Caveman Rick, and Adam Goff. Y'all be safe. Stay out of the water if you see 2 red flags.